Welcome to Bay Area Sports Report. My name is Rady, and today we will be going over the 49ers' potential receiver targets after two injuries in the receiver core. Along with that, looking at Vita Vea and a possible trade package. So let's get right into it. As you know, Ricky Pearsall was out with knee swelling, along with Christian Kirk being out with hamstring issues. But as we have gotten more reports as, according to what Matt Mayoko says, this doesn't look good. I think it's reasonable, rational, logical for the 49ers to not expect Ricky Pearsall to make any contribution in 2026, since the Niners could be preparing for Ricky Pearsall to miss the entirety of the 2026 season. As it shows by Dr. Etz's, as he says, PCL injuries and the Ricky Pearsall situation. In general, the vast majority of PCL injuries are managed non-operatively, especially if they are isolated. If patients become sympathetic, swelling, pain, or instability, then surgery can be performed. Sometimes the symptoms won't creep up until players really start doing intensive activities. The reason to try and delay PCL surgery is that reconstruction has a long recovery process, 9 to 12 months, and results are mixed, especially at an agility position like wide receiver. I'm sad for Ricky Pearsall. I loved when we picked him up. He had so much potential, but now he's just this from last year, glass man. And it's just sad. It's just a disappointing way to see Ricky Pearsall having this PCL injury. I wish he could have gotten it um, sooner. It would have been a smart thing to do. It's just tough to see him being injured, especially the potential he has. As he had a lot of good receiving yards, 528, 403 touchdowns. Like, he was looking so good. Um, for the 49ers. It's just those injuries are just there. He reminds me of Jalen Hurd back then, where he just had so much injury issues. I just feel bad for Ricky Pearsall. It's an unfortunate situation, and hopefully I don't know what's gonna happen with Ricky Pearsall. It's just really just gonna depend on what comes next, but it's a sad situation, and I was kind of a bit skeptical on when they said injuries, and I thought, okay, well, he'll just help. The trainers will help him, and he'll manage his injuries, and maybe he'll do good. But he's just had a lot of injuries, and the trainers they're just not telling him what to do, which I mentioned in my other video. So go check that one out. It's just a sad and disappointing moment, but it's just sad to see that. But for the 49ers receiver targets, I right now have there's two right now as Tyreek Hill is one as for so who could possibly replace Ricky Pearsall? So but as you mentioned, what about Christian Kirk? Is he gonna get some backup? As you know, the way that Eskridge, Trent Irwin, and another receiver are doing tryouts, they haven't signed anyone yet, so we don't know if they have signed anyone. But in other words, the 49ers have signed Josiah DeGura, especially with George Kittle being out. It's a pretty interesting signing, I'll say. It's an interesting signing. I just want to bring that up. It just doesn't make sense for some reason. I don't know why. So, but hey, it's good, I guess. I mean, it's a solid tight end. So, but as for the receiver targets, I looked at Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs, but as I was researching it a bit more, I don't think they should go after Tyreek Hill, especially after he says his leg is he hasn't had any feeling on his left or right leg. I can't remember which one that one is, but I want to go after him mostly because he has that ACL injury, and I thought it would get better, and then he's just back to running and stuff. Then maybe I would sign him, but he just hasn't been doing good. Stephon Diggs is a good receiver core. A lot of people have rumored him going to the Niners, but it's just those crime issues. He's just another BA, and I don't want another Brandon Ayuk on the team, especially on whatever he's doing. I don't know. I'm so I don't want to stick with that, especially I don't want to speak on the crimes that he's having. So you could check that out with other videos. But I don't think that's a good option. The number two option is DeAndre Hopkins. As Hopkins he's a solid receiver. He's not he has been very solid for teams. I would go after Hopkins just because he's a veteran. Last year, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a good player. He's been reliable. He's been solid. He's a bit older. I think he was with the Patriots, but then they cut him. So I would go after DeAndre Hopkins as just like that target. I think he would be good as in the slot like last year with the Ravens. He was a solid receiver for them, for especially behind Zay Flowers. So I would go after DeAndre Hopkins because he would be a very solid and good option for the team. So I think you'd be very good, especially for if you're doing Dejon dribbling with Mike Evans as him being the number two. I like Demarcus Robinson being at three. I don't mind that, but I would go after another receiver for that for him to step up at that third receiver. But if they're planning to put Ricky Pearsall on IR, then it's a possibility, and then they might have to stick with bring Cowing up to the roster, and then Malik Turner, but I don't think he's going to make it. And then, who knows, maybe Wesley Grimes or Will Pauling could possibly step up. A lot of people are talking high on Wesley Grimes, so we'll see if he can step up also. So we'll have to see on that. But, I mean, overall, I really don't think Demarcus Robinson should be that slot receiver. I think he is a good receiver, and I think he could be that Ram self back in 2022 or 2021. But I feel like he needs or 2024. But I think I would rather sign a receiver who's a slot guy, and that's just better. And my number one option, this is like the big topic, Deebo Samuel, as he is a bit he isn't the same Deebo as he was back in 2021, but he is that solid and good option. If he can pull off like 2023 or maybe 2022 or 2021. Like, if he could just bring that up, or even recently in 2025, I think he can be that solid receiver option. He's been a good player. He's been solid. George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk want him on the team. I just think it makes too much sense for the 49ers to bring him back. There are talks that it might be closer. We'll have to see. I mean, it's just rumors. We'll have to see if they do actually bring him back. But I would love this. I think it's a great signing for the 49ers to sign him back on the team. And I think he would be just a solid and good option for the 49ers. And he's just that slot guy of... So, like, you would have Mike Evans, Dejon Stribling, and then Deebo Samuel as that third trio. That's a good trio in my view. I think it's a great team overall. And then you have Robinson as your fourth receiver, you have Watkins as your fifth, and then you have Cowing as your sixth receiver. That is if both of those guys can stay healthy, Watkins and Cowing. But so far they've been highlighted, as I said in my day 3 of training camp. They've been doing, along with Robinson, they've been doing so good and stepping up for Ricky Pearsall and Christian Kirk. So I think so far they came very prepared for these injuries. I feel like they saw this coming on it, but so I'm glad they came prepared, and I think having Deebo Samuel on the team is a great idea. On to segment 2, as Vita Vea is been talked about a lot for the 49ers. I wouldn't mind Vita Vea on the team, mostly because I think we need that kind of help. A lot of people want him. I did said that I didn't want him, but at the same time, I feel like it might be a best option, especially against the Rams and the Seahawks now, which is are very good now. And I think having Vita Vea on the team is good. I mean, we don't know on Alfred Collins. He could come back second half of the season, as John Lynch said, but I wouldn't mind having him back on the team. And I think he'd be a very good option. He could stuff the run. He's been solid on pass rushing, so we could use that. But so I think it's really important because the run defense was kind of the second worst thing, as the which is as for the pass rush is the number one worst thing on the list for defense. And I think him with Osa, Michael, and Nick Bosa is a nice four for D lineman, which is not bad. And then the depth is very good on this there. Romello Heights, Samuel Guwanu. There's Alfred Collins, CJ West, Grayson Halton. We'll have to see what they do. I don't know how they're gonna do this. We'll have to see. But if for a trade package, I would go after this trade right now, as the 49ers receive Vita Vea, the Bucks receive 2027 second round pick, 2028 fifth round pick, and then linebacker Tatum Bethune. I wouldn't mind this mostly because we get to keep all our defensive tackles, and then you could use all your defensive tackles. You could rotate them, rest Vita Vea since he's older now. Like, so I wouldn't mind doing this trade. The other trade I would do also, which is trade number two. Trade number one, trade number two is this one, but trade number one is the 49ers via Vea, and then the the 49ers and then the Bucks receive just a 2027 third round pick, which I wouldn't mind because the 49ers mostly don't technically need their third round pick. They did it with Osa Dikizuwa. I'm sure they could just trade their first round pick because they're not very good at that, and I would technically do that also. So I think they would just trade their first round pick because knowing them, they would just do that because they did that last time and they just selected they got picks back, so they traded twice and they got a third round pick back and a second rounder also. So I would just do this. I would just do that also, but but all trades I wouldn't mind at all. But overall, I just hope the 49ers would sign Deebo Samuel on the team. I think it would be a nice trio of Mike Evans, Stribling, and him. I think it's a nice trio. And then for D tackle, for Vita Vea, hopefully he comes onto the team. He has been talked a lot. He would reunite with Mike Evans. I think it's a nice thing to see. And he is from the West Coast. He has roots there on being with, he was a 49ers fan, so I would love to see that. But that's it for today. But make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and comment down below on which wide receiver targets you would like to have, and and if you think Vita Vea will come to the 49ers. And this is Bay Area Sports Report, signing off.